So,
Well, here we are. It's a great honor, as always, and a pleasure to introduce Sister Theresa Wamuyu Wachira, the co-president of Pax Christi International, as we close our days together. Some of us remember warmly as 2 years ago, Sister Theresa began our time in Juba, South Sudan. And so closing us now with her message and a message from Pax Christi. My dear sister, what an honor and pleasure to be with you.
thank you, Matt. And it's a pleasure to see you again after 2 years. But I've been journeying with you and the group on WhatsApp. So peace to you all gathered here today in my neighboring country, Tanzania. I salute and bless the women, men, children, and the youth of Tanzania for their warm welcome. Thank you to all the organizers of this great gathering for the choice of the theme and for the organization. Allow me now share my few thoughts and reflections on the theme of this conference, for which you gathered, shared, collaborated, and synergized. This comes at a time when we are witnessing and experiencing mass atrocities across the globe that have led to thousands of deaths of people and other forms of life, widespread migration of people, influx of internally displaced persons, brutality of children, and raping of women as weapons of war. This is also within a backdrop of calls on the international community to call for a ceasefire, especially in the case of Israel and Palestine. Also calls to address the situations of violations and humanitarian crisis in Goma, DRC, and many other parts of the world where the people, the ordinary people, are suffering different violations. I want to engage with the discussions you have had during these few days. And one of them, I would invite us to engage and collaborate and synergize on the issues that are affecting our people today. We look at the extraction of minerals in different parts of our world. For instance, in Latin America, in Peru, in Africa, and other places. We also look at the issues of what I call the, looking at the other person as an enemy, where we have, so long as somebody is different from me, then I look at them as enemies. So racism is based on that, and it can spread in different forms. So we need to engage with that because it is a reality in our world today. For instance, it's not only about color. It could be about race, about engagement, for instance, the poor and the rich, the women and men, youth and adults. So racism, we need to engage in different forms. So the negativity about the other is an area that I would assume that will continue that engagement. I've just come from the meeting of the civil society, the 2024 civil society that was in the UN in Nairobi. And we were engaging on similar issues, looking at what is our current issues today. What are the areas our people are suffering today? What do we need to engage in? What debates do we need to discuss with each other? What are the discourses, the political discourses that we need to address? For instance, the shrinking of the spaces for democratic engagement. We need to discuss that, where the civil society are not given the space to express themselves and express the situations on the ground. Also, we need to be having discussions around the African security architecture, like looking at what issues are we grappling with in Africa and how can we address them. There is a tendency to use militaristic approaches, but are those approaches actually responding to the needs? Because we are seeing a rise in militia groups, locally and globally financed. So how do we address that situation today? Also, we need to engage with issues of the governments, United Nations, and the civil society. How do they synergize? So it's not about the government addressing issues or the civil society or the UN. We need to engage with that. And one of the areas that I would like us to engage in is the whole issue of veto power. It is engraved in the United Charter. However, when you look at the veto powers, sometimes there have been abuse of that, which has necessitated to some of the issues being aggravated. For instance, when you look at the whole issue of Israel-Palestine occupation, it has gone on for too long. Yet there was an agreement of the two states. Why has that gone on for too long? Why are the wars in Africa going on for too long? And we don't hear about them. Look at the war in Goma. Right now in the DRC Congo, we don't hear about those wars, but they are there, people are dying. And so that's where we are calling on the international community to speak out. And many other areas that I may not be able to discuss because of the short time. Matt told me I have 10 minutes. So I have to stick to those 10 minutes. And then therefore, what I would like us to be thinking even from here, because this is not the end, the engagement has to continue. You know, how, for instance, do we explain and package African agenda, the issues, for instance, of electoral justice, of intractable conflicts that have crippled almost different parts of Africa, issues of economy, issues of the interactions. And that's what this gathering was about, Ubuntu and Ujamaa. That's the whole issue of coming together, people sharing and respecting other people. That is the Ubuntu we are talking about. The issue, and that actually is based on African culture, by the way, because in Africa, harmony is very, very key, that communities come together. If there is some issues to be sorted out, people don't necessarily have to fight. They form a group, they come under a tree and discuss and dialogue about issues and try to resolve. And then after that, they'll have a drink together, a meal together to seal that. So that's the normal way. And therefore, that's what we are asking, that communities will engage in bringing people together to dialogue, to talk, as opposed to using military ways of addressing issues. You know, like that's not going to solve anything. As they say, you know, if you take off my eye and I take off yours, we'll have a blind society. So that is a call. Then I would like also us to have, to create spaces for spaces that will balance the traditional and new realities, you know, to engage with children and young people. Because we have the digital world, but how is that digital world being embraced within the traditions? And in Africa, we are seeing a lot of young people having their own journeys and adults having their own journey. Where do we synergize? Because the way forward is for us to find ways of synergizing this traditional and the current realities, because our young people are more on the digital world. So how does the digital world inform the traditional? Because in Africa, we have to handle that. We cannot escape from that. So this has been an opportunity for us to engage in those areas. but also this will inform the policies, because it's no use us meeting and engaging and talking if it does not translate to policies that are going to change our realities. And so I would say that we are in a very good position, and this is a Kairos moment for us to amplify the voices of nonviolence, the voices of the people. And the voices of the people is those that I'm calling the nonviolent voices, the silent voices that are not heard. It's up to us to engage those voices and to bring them to the fore, not to speak for them, but to allow them to speak for themselves. And I believe that's what is going to change. So it is our duty as we are engaging to, because we are talking about, our whole theme is about Ubuntu. Ubuntu means everybody has a space to speak and speak in your own voice. And so that's a challenge and an invitation for us to continue these conversations at the different levels where we engage, so that we can respond to another world. We are talking of another world, a just world, and a just world cannot be dealt with in the current tools and the current voices we are using, voices of the drums of war. We cannot address the current issues with drums of war. We need to have drums of peace. We need to have tools of peace. We need to have nonviolent tools that will address the current violent world that we are experiencing. And I think we can do that because we have the energy and we have the collaboration among us to do that. So I would like to end there and say that we are in the right space, because the topic we have chosen, the theme we have chosen actually does bring spark in people's hearts, because people at the moment kind of are looking for hope. Where can they find the seed of hope? Where can they find the spark? Just, you know, when the fire is going out, people look for that spark that they can ignite. And we are that spark. We are that spark. And this is the moment for us to spark that in people, so that we offer hope in a world that currently is actually looking hopeless. So I would like to end on that sign of hope and say that Jesus, because I'm a Christian, that Jesus came that all may have life and have it more abundantly. And that's what Ubuntu and Ujamaa and Pan-Africanism is about, giving people hope that Africa can rise again. And it has all the potential to rise again. And it will rise in the people. Thank you. And God bless.
Wow. Amen and amen. God bless you, and blessings
you,
and vows to all of us. Thank you, dear sister. Amazing.
Yes, thank you. I would have really loved to be there. But with this, because I'll be going, I have very many other meetings coming up. So I was trying to see how I balance all this, because there is a meeting actually on the 22nd in the university that have just come up, and I need to be there.
Well,
So,
in this way,
yeah,
you are with us. You're with us,
yes.
in any case.